Hey guys, it's Shelby. Today we're going to be talking about some things for going back to school, even though is literally anyone going back to school? I'm not sure. I think a lot of you guys are my age, which means you've probably graduated from college or are the age of someone who would have graduated college within the last 5-7 years. But still, I got a lot of requests to make this video, so I figured let's do it because not only are a lot of people going to be going back to school or, thinking about going back to school around this time of year, I think a lot of us are also either working from home, getting ready to go back to work, or maybe some of you guys have kids that are in school. So let me know in the comments where you fall in all of that, because I'm wondering why so many of you requested this video. But I'm making this video because you wanted to see it. So let's just get into it. This video is brought to you by my friends over at Earth Hero. If you guys haven't heard me talk about them before, basically Earth Hero has the sustainable version for anything you could be looking for. A lot of people refer to them as the eco-friendly Amazon. I think that's pretty true. They have a sustainable version for pretty much anything you could be looking for, not just zero waste swaps. And you're going to see that throughout today's video because they do have a section on there for sustainable school supplies. I personally love Earth Hero because they don't just think about if a product is reusable or the end of a product's life cycle. They have a full 5-step process to talk about all the different things that they evaluate a brand for to make sure that they're actually eco-friendly. Not only that, but Earth Hero themselves are a certified B Corporation, carbon neutral, and part of 1% for the planet. So we love Earth Hero over here. We also have a discount code with them, Shelby10, for 10% off of your purchase to save you some money during this school shopping season. And I'm gonna have everything I talk about today linked below. So let's jump into the tips and then we'll talk about a few sustainable brands that Earth Hero carries. So here's tip number 1. Use what you already have. I think so many of us probably have pens, pencils, highlighters, notebooks, etc. laying around our homes. And if not in your home, ask your mom or your aunt that's like a low-key hoarder. I literally have so many pens that I found on the ground or at conferences, or my mom. I went into her junk room once and found dozens of unused notebooks, I guess from when we were in school. So definitely take advantage of what you already have before going and buying anything new, because I know when I was a kid, I actually almost loved school supply shopping more than I did clothes shopping, because I clothes shopped all the time, so I guess school supplies was a different form of consumerism for once. But I loved the feeling of going and getting like new pencils and new notebooks, but that's unnecessary if you already have them at your home, especially if they're new to you as well. Then just use what you already have, because I think there can be a lot of hype around that. So I think it's good to remind ourselves, I already have stuff at home I can use, let's use that up first. My second tip is to always prioritize quality over quantity. And you can see this in ways like backpacks, pens and pencils, the tech that you have to use for school. When you find something that is better quality, it's more likely that you're going to stick with it long term, and using anything for as long as you possibly can is always going to be the more eco-friendly version than buying something that's a cutesy little back to school item, but will maybe only last you like a week or two before you lose it because it's just not performing as well, or you buy a ton of them because they're cheap and you just know that you can automatically replace them. So 2 examples, my hair tie is always somewhere either on my wrist or in my hair. I love this thing because it never stretches out. Even when I put it on my wrist, if I put it in my hair, it doesn't matter how much I stretch it out, it's gonna go back to a normal size. And yes, it never breaks and has lasted me for so long, so the quality is there for that reason, but more so it's just something that works really well for me, and so I've kept up with it. Same thing with my sunglasses. They work really well for me. I like them more than other sunglasses I've tried, so I don't want to go back to using other sunglasses that I didn't like as much. So there are a lot of different aspects to quality so that you keep up with something, but really take the time to evaluate what that means to you and then purchase things that are quality over quantity. So speaking of quality over quantity in tech, my tip number 3 is to buy things secondhand, and especially when we're talking about tech. Tech items could be really helpful to reduce your waste when it comes to schools, right? So for taking notes purposes, you can get textbooks on your laptop, your iPad, those sort of things. But I personally always recommend purchasing those items secondhand. And not only is it going to be better for the planet, but it's also going to be better for your wallet. I've done this for years with no problem. My iPad, my iPhone, my laptop, all my cameras, the camera I'm talking to you on right now, pretty much everything I use to run this YouTube channel was bought secondhand, and I highly recommend you do this as well. And I do have a secondhand tech guide linked in the description, so make sure you check that out if you're curious. And that's another tip in its own right, is to try to get your books digital, the digital version, if that's possible and if that works for you. I personally really like to highlight things in my books, write things onto things, all that sort of thing, doing. So for me, buying books secondhand was a better option. Always try to keep that in mind, especially if you're in college. Books can get so expensive, and they're usually cheaper if you buy them online or if you buy them secondhand. Those are all pretty broad tips, but I think they are important reminders, especially when we're talking about going back to school, because a lot of schools will just give you this massive list of everything you need, and keeping the following tips in mind is really important. But the next tip is to, when you need to buy something new, you decide you actually need to buy something for school, is to support sustainable brands and to buy the sustainable version of X, Y, and Z. There are actually a few brands out there making sustainable school or office supplies, whatever you want to call it, things made from recycled plastic, recycled newspaper, and even some that have seeds in them so that when you're done with the pencil, you can plant it and turn it into a plant. So we're gonna get into all of that. We'll go by categories. Notebooks. What should you do if you do want to use a notebook? Like I already said, taking notes digitally is a really good option, but it just never worked for me. I really prefer to write things down. So things to look for are, number one, notebooks that are not spiraled. So that little spiral piece, the metal piece, it's really, really hard to recycle because it's so thin. It can get caught up in machinery. Generally, your recycling system is going to tell you not to put that in your curbside. So skip out on those and get ones that are instead all cardboard and paper. Look for notebooks that are made from recycled paper or tree-free paper. Maybe it's made from bamboo or all those sort of things. There's a brand on Earth Hero called A Good Company who makes a completely cradle-to-cradle certified notebook, which basically makes them like a circular business. They've thought about the entire footprint of their product. That company is called A Good Company. Of course it is. It's also completely made with renewable energy, which is great. So that's a really good one. I'll have linked below for you to check out. And then so many people have been asking me about the Rocket notebook. If you guys haven't heard of this, it's basically a reusable notebook that you can write in and then completely erase and start over. So basically you write in your notes, you know, normal, whatever, and then you take a picture of it through the app, and depending on which little symbol you've circled, it will send it to wherever you want. So you can send it to an email, you can send it to a Google Drive link and have different folders like this class, this meeting, or, you know, if you are working as a professional, you have different projects, different clients, you can make different folders for your different clients, and each page that's for that client, take a picture of it with the app, sends it directly to your Google folder so you can access it from your computer or your phone. I just think the whole process is really, really neat. I'm gonna make a whole tutorial on TikTok of how to use this thing, but this is a pretty cool option if you're someone like me who actually enjoys physically writing things down. So speaking of writing utensils, there are a few options in this realm as well. So we have a plethora of them right here. Basically, if you're comfortable with buying recycled plastic pens, these are gonna be a really good option. They actually have pencils as well. So if you like refillable mechanical pencils, that's what this is, and I'll have this one linked below. It's made from, like I said, recycled plastic. And actually one of the biggest issues with plastic recycling is that there's not a huge market for it on the other side. And so when I've worked with waste management in the past, I went to an event with them. Oh God, that was this year. It's so weird, before lockdown happened. I went to an event with waste management and they were telling me that the value of plastic is just so low because not that many people want to actually buy it to repurchase it, and that's a huge part of what makes plastic recycling like really inefficient. So while it does feel weird to have something that's made of plastic and call it eco-friendly, actually using recycled plastic and materials is really important as well. So if you like mechanical pencils but you don't want to buy like virgin plastic ones, this is a good option. You can also get ones that are made of bamboo. So this is a bamboo pen option. This one is by A Good Company and it is made of a renewable grass material. I personally really like this one the best. I just like the way it writes, and I like the look of it too because it's not plastic, I guess. That's why. It's got that cute minimalist like color to it, so I like this one. Then as far as pencils go, like I mentioned earlier, there is a pencil brand. This one is called Sprouts, and basically what you can do is use it up like normal, use it until you're done, sharpen it when you're done. There are seeds in this little cap right here that you can plant directly into your garden. It has a label for what the plant is, so when you stick it in there you can see and it'll grow a plant. Like how freaking cool is that? So I wanted to shout these out. Earth Hero carries them now. I'm gonna have them linked below. If you're looking for colored pencils, why go from ones made from virgin trees? These are made from recycled newspaper. I've actually had these before in the past. I cannot remember what I did with my old pack. I think I gave it to my cousin. But regardless, if you're looking for colored pencils, these are a really good option, especially if you like taking notes in different colors or if you have a kid that's going back to school, like I said. And then there's a highlighter made from recycled plastic as well. I'm gonna have this link below, like I said. But if you're not comfortable using recycled plastic highlighters, there are also completely plastic-free highlighters. They're basically just colored pencils, but very neon, so that you can use them to highlight things. So I know when I was in college, I really enjoyed highlighting things. I know for some people it's just unnecessary, so maybe consider that as well. Maybe you don't even need a highlighter, you know. So now for backpacks. If we all know, Shelby has used one backpack for the last few years, 3 years I think, and I just really like it. I've stuck with it even though it's kind of not the best quality thing. As I already said, I definitely recommend buying quality over quantity, and I'm gonna have a link in the description to all the different backpacks I've researched that are made from sustainable materials. A few of them are from Earth Hero. Specifically on Earth Hero, you can find ones made from recycled tires, you can find some made from recycled plastic, and they also have some made from like dead stock factory scraps and also street signs. Really cool stuff over there, and I'll have the link below so that you can decide what you want. But this is another example of where I definitely want you to really think through this purchase and think about what's gonna work for you, right? One of my biggest problems with my current backpack is that it doesn't have a water bottle holder. So if that's something that's important to you, make sure it has that. If a laptop sleeve is something that's really important to you, make sure the backpack you choose has that so that it's something that you want to keep long term. And then there's lunch on the go. So obviously there are several swaps I've talked about before, but if you're going to be making your lunch to go, if you're going to work, if you're just gonna be out of the house, if you do have kids and you're making them lunch, whatever the situation is, definitely try to choose plastic-free options for your kitchen. So these are just a few examples, some things I've definitely talked about before. But You Can Serve is a brand that I've talked about before, but they used to have their stainless steel, what do you call this? Containers, obviously, but they used to have plastic lids. Now they have silicone lids, which are really nice and just look so freaking sleek. So I'm gonna have this linked below. There are a few other options for sustainable storage containers over on Earth Hero as well, but this is one of them. And then, you know, I just have to give a quick mention to the Kala cloths, which are the only vegan wax wraps I have seen. So if you guys are interested in vegan wax wraps, I think they're really good for lunches if you want to wrap up a sandwich or anything that you want to be, I don't know, conserved. I use these for like half lemons and stuff like that in my fridge. I know there are other like food huggies that are made specifically for specific food types, but I don't do that stuff. I just use beeswax wraps, or I often use a stasher bag, but I use stasher bags more so for like little things, a bunch of little things in a bag. So if I cut up cucumbers, they're gonna go in here. Reusable stasher bags that are silicone instead of plastic is definitely a better option for lunches on the go. Now those are all the tips I came up while I was brainstorming, just trying to figure out what could be helpful for you guys in this video. Please let me know in the comments if I missed something, if you think you have some tips to share with everyone else, because I love the community on this channel in the comments, and this is not an area that is my expertise, you guys. Like back to school, I'm not going back to school, haven't gone back to school since 2015, which makes me feel so weird. And I would just also love to hear, like, are you going back to school? Have you already graduated from school? Do you have kids in school? I would love to hear in the comments which of those things you fall under. Just general tips are trying to prioritize natural materials over plastic if you are going to buy something new. I know that they often make you go buy those like huge packs of school supplies if you do have a kid like in elementary school and that sort of thing. I can tell you right now, when I have kids, there will be pushback, which I feel bad for the teachers for, but I just feel like every time I would buy those huge packs of school supplies, when I was in school, at the end of the year, we would literally have dozens of everything left over. It's not that I'm not happy to supply kids who need extra things. I would love to do that for other kids who can't afford it, but just outright buying things and then throwing them away at the end of the year seems incredibly silly to me. So I don't ever want to piss teachers off, because Lord knows, bless them. Yeah. I think that's it. Thank you so much to Earth Hero for partnering with me on this video. If you guys do need to pick up anything, even if you're not going back to school, you can pick up anything with the discount code Shelby10 and get 10% off of it. So thank you guys for watching, and remember, until next time, you cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do. Bye guys.